Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Dietzo Man Productions.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show. Today I have with me a good friend, a special guest. He's the founder, chief strategist with Smirk New Media. He's a business owner, father, husband, all-around great guy, Mike Koehler. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's going great, Scott.
Good.
I'm glad we could connect and do this. It's been a while since we talked, but
yeah.
I wanted to support you in any way I can too. So
I sent you that picture that we took together in 2009. I can't believe I ran across that picture. I wasn't looking for it. I just was looking for something else. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, playing on the internet. But I'm glad we're both still around doing what we want to do. So.
Yeah. I think that was the Will Rogers Theater, the American Marketing Association, OKC chapter. I was doing a presentation on QR codes at the time, and I'm still a big QR code proponent, but I think the world's finally catching on to what I was talking about.
Well, yeah, that's how everybody's doing menus now.
Yeah, exactly.
With the COVID, it's like every place you go, you scan it in and look at the menu on your phone now. Mm-hmm. So I'm right there with you. We feel like eventually we'll be proven right with all the crazy things, with all the crazy things we said over the years. So.
Right, vindication.
Exactly.
Great. So you and Smirk New Media are celebrating 10 years in the business. Right. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was, we were going to have a big party and celebration, but 2020 happened. So next year we're going to have a 10th anniversary with an asterisk and try
Plus
to have
one.
People. Yeah, exactly. And try to celebrate the right way.
Yeah. Screw 10th anniversary. We're going for 11.
Yeah. 2020 doesn't count for anybody anymore.
No.
This is a gimme year. So, all celebrations are moved to next year.
So on Smirk New Media, you started 10 years ago, and back then it was kind of the Wild West with social media and even the subject of social. What is it? I mean, a lot of people didn't have any idea, and there were guys like you and I kind of banging the drum and trying to get people on board, and now you don't have to do that anymore. People are probably coming to you, telling you to help us get on board.
Right. I mean, 10 years ago, it was like you're trying to sell a product that nobody understands or believes is real. So, I mean, that makes the growing the business a little bit hard. So, I always felt like I was a little bit of a missionary out in the mission field. Like,
right.
I had to evangelize for this thing that nobody really understood, even before I got to pitch people that this was a service that they should pay real money for. So, that part of it has gotten 1,000 times easier, and now it's just a matter of competing in the market for folks, and it's almost the opposite now, where there's a lot of folks who think they understand every part of it, even though it's gotten a lot more sophisticated and, a lot more nitty gritty in the details. So there's always a bit of education because it's changing so often. The algorithms are changing so often, or another new platform will pop up and be really popular. And so it's been a whirlwind, and, there's ways that it's a lot easier, and there are people who just come to us now and say, hey, we need your help. And so that's a super blessing to have compared to how it was. But, I always have to stay on top of things. My team always has to stay on top of what's next and where is this all going.
Back in 2009, Twitter was just kind of starting out, and there was you started what was it, the Weather X, or the hashtag okay weather, or something
okay
like
ice.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was about the ice storm, ironically, that we had in 2007. I think that was. And so yeah, there so much of the Oklahoma City community came around weather and how we can have live conversations about that. And that's still happening today when I'm look out my window and all the trees are busted down.
Right.
Social has just become a place of where we can gather as a community. And back then it was really helping each other out and letting each other know where it was safe to drive or where it was safe to go. And now we're still doing that. So I can't tell you how many broken tree limb photos I've seen on Instagram in the past few days. So
right.
It's definitely part of the way we live.
So I'm going to veer off here into a little ditch maybe. Back in 2009, we started the Bartlesville Marketing Communications Association, which you were a guest of 1 or 2 times, I think, in Bartlesville. And you were gracious enough to come up and speak to the group. Back then, I was maybe naive a little bit. I really thought, and still do actually, thought that social media was a great way for everybody to help each other out. It was a great way to crowdsource. It was a great way to share information, to help each other out. But since then, now it's almost become like this cesspool of just junk. And I almost feel like I'm embarrassed for having told people they need to be using it. Because there's so much, I never ever thought that was going to happen. And then it happened and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's funny because, as we're talking, Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and the head of Google are testifying in front of Congress today, just about sort of social media's role in the conversations that everybody are having. And I don't like what I see all the time. There are pockets of conversation that happen and pockets of community that happen that are still sort of forces for good out there on social. I think Facebook groups, for instance, it's risen in the past year or so, and it's been a really great spot for like-minded people, politics aside, but marketers or people, or parents at our school or people from church or whatever. Neighborhoods. There's places where people can gather and be apolitical and
industry groups
and really share and lean on each other and support each other and root for each other. And I think that's, I know just from how we grew over the past 10 years that if you put yourself out there and find a great community, they're going to really support you and be a part of the success. I know that Smirk wouldn't be where it is if not for the Twitter community in Oklahoma City and in our state of people who just lean on each other. So that gives me hope. I'm curious, maybe in a week when all this is sort of the bickering of politics is still behind us, maybe that'll go away. But
maybe it's just because we're in an election year. Maybe that's what I'm feeling right now.
This week might be the worst week ever going forward. But I think some people just troll to be trolls. And it's like that's their way of feeling big and feeling like they're superior or whatever. And Twitter has given them the opportunity to do that. And I think once the bubble burst on that, I think that maybe will go away. But I think if you focus on, it's all about your intention. If you focus on talking to people about other things and you self-select your audience, people always talk about the bubble. Putting yourself in a bubble is it's a bad thing, and I don't think it's always necessarily a bad thing. I think if you surround yourself with people who are sort of equal, like-minded for you, but sometimes that like-mindedness is how just their tone and their attitude, if they're not sort of poisonous people, then I think that can be a way where you can get good out of being on social. And that's how we feel about it. And then when we talk to clients about it, it's really about them telling their stories in a way that is attractive or interesting to people, regardless of sort of the toxicity. And then on the flip side of that is how we talk about customer service and the empathy and on that side of things.
So I'm sure you guys are trying to steer clients to their, not everybody's going to be interested in Sonic, but there's going to be a lot of people interested in Sonic. It's kind of like Kevin Kelly, the 1,000 fans article, where
of course,
you just find the people that are interested in your story, and that's good enough.
Right. And it's about the decisiveness too, building up the strategy of how you're going to deal with people that you just don't want to deal with. I mean, sometimes where we saw what we saw in how brands talked about dealing with trolls is they were worried about offending somebody, or they were worried about, I don't want to ban them because they'll still be mad. But at some point, it's okay to have it's okay to have levels in which of things that you'll tolerate and things that you'll not. I mean, they already, the ironic thing is a lot of companies already have that in their physical locations. Mm-hmm. If somebody walked into your restaurant and stood in the lobby of the restaurant and just start like cussing at everybody and throwing a fit or whatever, then they would be asked to leave. And it's always been a matter of getting brands to understand that their social platforms should be held to the same standard. There's stuff that you just don't put up with, and it's okay to mute people or ban or block people or whatever. But on the same side of that, we've seen in the work we do and studies that we've seen that sometimes if people are just mad about the service or feel ignored by the brand, that engaging with those folks who are being negative has a positive impact for the brand too. So Facebook is like begging brands to engage with customers in the comments, because that will, in their weird algorithm formula, that will do you some good. So, we talk about having those red lines, and but we also talk about engaging with empathy and turning those folks around.
There was a lady who owned a pizza place. I don't know where it was, in Yelp. Every time she replies to every comment. I'll just say, put it that way. And if they get a negative comment, she will reply to them too and say, "Here's a coupon for whatever. Come back and give us another try." And I love it when people on social media respond to something I've said, especially if it's a business. It makes me feel like they're listening. How do you promote customers to? I know you guys are big into customer service for your clients. How do you convince them that it's important to keep your ear to the ground and?
Well, yeah, I mean, we sort of have a saying, reply or die. Is sort of what we push in terms of, active response, which is our customer service program. Because, on one hand, it's like, if you just leave those bad comments festering out there, then they're not going to go away. And in fact,
down reply or die.
And what we found is, take for example, just like a negative comment on Facebook. So you're a brand, somebody replies to your post with a scathing sort of "these people suck" sort of comment, and your philosophy is to not reply to negative comments. Well, what happens more often than not is that guy's comment is replied to by other people who agree with that person. Oh yeah, I remember the time they screwed up my order, and on and on and on. And it's sort of like this this kudzu of negativity that's hanging down off of this post now, when in fact, if you had just replied to that very first person with with empathy and an understanding of and a helping attitude, the rest of those comments don't exist anymore. They just don't happen. Mm-hmm. So if you think of it as like points, so when somebody posts a negative thing, that's a -1, and then when you post something positive, that's a +1. So those things equal 0, as opposed to -1, -1, -1, -1, -1. So the sitting out replies just isn't a smart business decision anymore. It's like the worst thing that can happen is that person says something negative again, and you're just like, okay, obviously we can't help you. But more often than not, you come in and look like the good guy, replying and being understanding and level-headed, and helpful. Then people are coming, and then your fans, your people who love your brand, will often come and back you up rather than piling on.
Yeah, I love that.
The negativity. So,
I wrote a Instagram post about Brad Thor's books. I've got, this is the 10th one I think I'm reading. Anyway, so I was talking about that, and I tagged Brad Thor in it, and he sends a comment back, 2 thumbs up or something like that. Thanks for reading.
Right.
And it just, I don't know why that was so cool. Just like somebody's listening, you have access to guys like Brad Thor, Stephen King, all these, I'm sure Stephen King's probably not doing that, but at some level, I think it's really cool when people are responding and being responsive to their fans, their audience.
Sure. No, I'm a big movie and TV nerd, and so sometimes I'll just send a message, send a tweet to an actor that just says, "Hey, you did a good job."
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know if they care or not, but there's been but there's been times where I love it. There's the show that came out this summer called Ted Lasso. It was on
I've heard
Apple
about
Plus, that Jason Sudeikis was on, and it was a little show that didn't get a lot of attention, but I tweeted out how much it was incredible. It was the best show I've watched this year. And, Jason Sudeikis liked my comment and, did the same sort of thing, just the emoji reaction to that. And to me, that's not hard for them to do, buys them a lot of goodwill. Here
we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, it's a story I'll tell. And I think brands, big or small, whoever it is, if you've got somebody who's rooting for you, it doesn't take but a few seconds to answer that. So.
I saw a really tricky promotion when the Avengers came out. They asked you to vote for your favorite superhero, whether it was Phantom or Iron Man or Black Widow or whatever, So you put your vote in. I voted for the Phantom, or that purple guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a tweet back, and it's him. And he's like, "Scott, you made the right choice. I'm so glad you voted for me." Now, sure. I know they didn't do that individually for each one. I'm sure they sat down for about a day and went through every name possible,
Mm-hmm.
But it just was so cool, and I was telling all my friends, "Hey, look, this guy's," he didn't really respond to me, but I get it, and it was a great campaign.
Yeah. It's
personalization.
Yeah, and that's another thing we talk about when we talk about customer service is sort of looking at how either agencies or brands are spending their time with content. And, brands or agencies sort of sink all of this time and hours into creating clever, air quotes, clever, original content, some huge graphic or some really clever turn of phrase, and they don't spend the time, replying and on the customer service end of things. And we see, I think that's a mistake. I think if you look at the engagement that you get from, just like a really great infographic or whatever somebody spent 25 hours building, as opposed to spending 25 hours monitoring and replying to people. I think studies have shown, and in our metrics show, that you're getting more engagement, you're getting a bigger reach, you're getting more ROI out of the time sunk into customer service than the organic stuff. And what we do as an agency with Sonic and with some of our other clients is we'll do the customer service part so they can do the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And so both of those goals get accomplished.
So Smirk New Media, located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and you guys, like 10 years ago, when you started, and you're 10 years old now, and looking back over the last 10 years, what's the when you started out sitting in a Starbucks with a crappy laptop, starting your business by yourself, and now here you are with your own agency and your own staff, and you've you're a decade into it now. What's the biggest change? What did you not anticipate when you were starting out? What's the biggest change over the last 10 years in the digital landscape?
Boy, on the business side of things, I think it's sort of what skill set the people I wanted to be on our team needed to have. I think that was interesting because, on one, big part of it was I didn't want a bunch of clones of me. I needed people who knew things that were different than me.
Right.
So we, my initial thought was, I just need a bunch of writers, and that will accomplish it. But as the platforms changed, we needed more people who were great at visuals. We needed more people who were great at sort of the soft skills, like we talk about, with empathy and with, understanding where people are coming from, and or just some people who was, a person who was great at SEO, a person who was great at, managing ad campaigns. I went in thinking we'd sort of just travel the narrow lane of social, but digital became such a bigger and bigger umbrella as the years went on that right, like when we first started, we didn't do much in the way of paid ads. We would do their social, but there wasn't sort of Facebook ad campaigns going on. And now that's so much a part of what we do, and that's a skill set that I for sure didn't have, but somebody who can juggle and manage multiple variations of an ad campaign and really talk clearly with a client about return on investment, and there's all this new language we had to learn about, sales funnels and and lead acquisition and all this stuff that was totally different than what I had in my head about just doing social and writing blogs when we first started. When
you're getting together, I guess you guys don't get together now. You probably work from home, everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah, we've been totally digital since March.
So how's that working for you?
For us, it really wasn't that terrible, because we had gotten to the point where we were letting the staff work from home a couple of days a week already. And then we just sort of flipped that switch and said, hey, everybody just go ahead and stay home. We've always had the philosophy of a lot of freedom for the employees. If you're getting your tasks done and the clients are happy with what you're doing, and we're seeing the metrics are good, then we let everybody have a really flexible schedule. So, we have unlimited vacation time. For some weeks we're starting to work on 4-day weeks. And so everybody just knew, they're very task oriented and very client focused. And so it wasn't that hard for us. Actually, we've grown staff during this time since March. We've grown our client base. So we've, knock on wood, I always knock on wood when I say this, but we've had a great 2020. It's might be the best year we've had revenue wise and a lot of other different measurements wise. So we've been really lucky.
I have my guess as to why that might be, but why do you think that is? Are you guys like super salesmen or?
Well, yes, I'm really great at business development. So I do all of
it's all you.
Stuff now.
Yeah.
So absolutely. No, I think it's, I think it's the world is totally in our space now. If everybody's on a Zoom call and everybody's doing everything online, then that's where all the customers are now too. So the importance of having a good presence and doing things strategically right is more important than ever. I think this, as bad as all of this has been, it does nothing but accelerate the adoption of digital marketing.
True. Yeah.
For all the businesses. And I think, strangely too, in the online world, Smirk has a much higher profile than it does in the offline world. You might not come across us if you're just in an office building trying to figure out who's going to help you. But we actually increased the amount of content we're putting out. We increased paid ads that we're using for our own lead acquisition. And so we've become much more of a presence and much more in your face to people during this time. And I think that's helped us catch things. And also we are doing really great work. Last year at the...
Yeah, you're good at what you do. That's something to be said for that too.
Yeah, we sort of changed some of our branding too. We started much more using the phrase Oklahoma's original digital marketing agency, since we were the first ones to just go out and solely focus on digital things. And then we've really been putting out a lot. We have a rhythm now where we're putting out once a week or once every couple of weeks some pretty robust case studies of the work that we've done. So we're not hiding our light under the bush as much as we used to. So I think it's been a combination of things, but it's really not about me at all. It's about the great work that our folks do. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's good leadership there. Where did you come up with the name Smirk?
So that's a weird story.
Has anybody ever asked you that?
Oh, I get it asked that all the time. So, so my wife and I had this weird tradition for when we were having kids to think of a name for the kids. So what we would do is we would get one of those big baby name dictionary books.
Yeah.
And we would get in the car and we would just drive around with the idea of we're not going back home until we figure out the name of what this kid is going to be. And
so we would quite a road trip.
Exactly. And so it was fun. And, she would drive and I would read the book and I'd be like, well, what about this? Or what about this? And so eventually we came up with names of 3 kids. It'd be a lot easier if they were like Aaron and Amy and all that, but we got deep into the alphabet. Right. So when we were deciding to name the company, we did the same thing, except this time I would pitch a name and if she liked it, I would look up and see if the domain was available. And at first it was like, they were all very businessy. They were like, Strategic Digital Solutions Incorporated, right, or whatever.
Very corporate speak.
All these very terrible corporate names. And so we were just thinking of, I eventually had the idea of we want a word that we can sort of be able to play with, that it can be a verb, we can combine it with other things. And so we just started thinking of words that reflected sort of who I was and my attitude and all that. So back in the olden days, when I was in the newspaper business, I had this photo taken of me to go with the column I was writing. And it was very much me looking up at the camera with a sort of a sly grin on my face. a smirk on my face. And that was like, hey, Mike's sort of a smart ass. But he knows what he's talking about. So we looked up Smirk, and Smirk New Media was available. Smirk.com wasn't available, and I'm still bitter about that because some juggler owns Smirk.com, and he refuses to sell it to me. So Smirk New Media is what it turned out to be, and it's gotten a lot of mileage for us. Let me tell you, it's people know what it is. People think it's clever, and I wouldn't change it for $1 billion. It's who we are.
That's a great story, and I think that's indicative of every business. Everybody has a great story. It's just they don't think they do, and so
Right.
It takes guys like you to draw it out of them and help. Whether you're a lumber yard or a car dealership or a pharmaceutical.
We live by that. We absolutely live by that idea. It's like, you think your business is boring, but it's not. What you have in your head and how you do what you do is endlessly fascinating for people if you tell the story in the right way.
Drew McClellan, I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and I like the phrase. He said, "There's riches in the niches."
Oh yeah.
You might be a watch repairman, but there's all kinds of good information to pass along to customers, and it takes companies like Smirk New Media to help tell those stories because they don't know how to.
Yeah. There's always this disconnect with folks in what they do and what's in their own head, and the idea that that's all sort of not, is boring or whatever. But at the same time, all these people will go on Netflix or go on TV and watch reality shows about, glass blowing and lumberjacks and guys who work at the garbage dump or whatever.
Yeah, dirty jobs.
There's not a connection there, but people have expertise in what they do that folks who aren't in that business don't understand, especially when you talk about service jobs and manual jobs and things like that. There's so many people who are like, it's almost like magic, if somebody will come in or make something, somebody will come in and make something out of a pile of wood into a beautiful piece of furniture, or even like an accountant will come in and see this pile of receipts and turn it into something that makes sense. It's like, we always tell folks, we want to know how you know what you know and how you do what you do. And if you just start from there and sort of go through your day, that's a lot of quality content.
So you guys are the experts when it comes to social, digital marketing, telling people's stories, clients' stories, and pushing that out to the public and finding that audience. 10 years have gone by. In the next 10 years, if you're looking in the rearview mirror and you can see what has happened in the last 10, what about looking out through the windshield? What's the next 10 years look like? I know I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball here, but
sure. No, I think time is on our side. I think we're on the right side of the curve in terms of the way the world is going, because I think there's a perception now with how much we talk about social media, in that there's like universal adoption. It's like, oh, well, everybody has a Facebook page and, everybody has a great website, when it's really about, in Oklahoma, it's probably about 50-50 with businesses and brands who are the ones who are active and on social or have a good presence. That's probably half of the businesses that are out there. The other half have crappy websites, have a Facebook page, but don't post anything to it, get reviews on Yelp that they don't even know exist and all that. So I think we're always looking towards bigger and better adoption numbers, but so I see that as getting more sophisticated. I think there is going to be some backlash and some adjustment in the platforms, with what Zuckerberg and them are talking about today. I think there is going to be some ways that they're going to have to change what they do. I think there's going to be more transparency in the ad space, even more. So regular people can see why they're being targeted. I think, one of the radical things I think is at some point, regular people are going to demand that they be compensated for the value of their data. So I can see, every person who's opted in gets a check from Facebook every month.
That'd be great.
We used you as one of the target audience for that. Here's $500 for the value of your data or whatever. So I can see that, and that might allow people. And I think generationally that's going to happen too. I think younger people are more comfortable with the idea of, oh yeah, I give Facebook this information, they give me free access to the platform, and then they sell me ads. I think younger people are totally comfortable with the idea of ads are targeting me because of my interest. I think they don't see that as sort of weird, creepy, big brothery as some other folks do, and that again will continue to support the industry. There will be a breakup of some things too. I see, there's going to be an antitrust lawsuit against Google, so they might have to break up YouTube, and they might have to break up search from some other functionality. So it's definitely, the next 10 years is going to be an interesting time, but I don't see the idea of targeted advertising and content sharing online ever going away from now on, because it's just totally changed culture.
I like that idea of Facebook sending me a check. It makes total sense, because, like Getty Images, when you have a photo that you use from Getty, you have to, 9 times out of 10, you got to pay for it, and then they let you use it. And,
right.
So yeah. And so it's probably time that they start paying us for giving them such rich content to make money with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that I think the days of huge terms of service that nobody reads, I think that's going to eventually go away, because there are going to be enough lawsuits from the public that those guys are going to have to quit tricking us into doing things that we don't want to do.
I might have to come up with my own terms of service and let them sign it before I
exactly. I think that one might happen.
So, we're almost into the hour here. Do you have 2 more minutes?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Last question is, as far as technology goes, what are you excited about? What's looming on the horizon that you can see coming, that you might be chomping at the bit at to use, or help tell people's stories, help connect with customers? VR, augmented reality, I'll throw QR codes in there again, or what?
I've always been, I think everyone now is addicted to home delivery. So I think there's going to be a shift to the more you can do that, the faster you can do that. I think there's got to be a squeeze in time between the thought of, I need to buy something, I've run out of something and I need to buy it, and when I get it. And so that can be, everything in your house sort of has a life meter on it.
Right.
And so, here, the milk is here. And so the milk tells Amazon, and the milk shows up the next day, or Walmart or Walmart or whomever. But you can do that with, it's like printer ink, for goodness sakes. Printer company should create a technology where the printer tells Amazon, I need another cartridge, before I sit there and go, oh damn, I run out of ink or whatever. and I still like the idea of when you walk into the store, your phone and the store communicate. So, so it lets you know what products you usually buy and what's on sale, or the basket starts being assembled as soon as you walk into the store.
I always wish there was a Google Maps for Walmart.
Yeah, their app is getting better about that. It's like if you use the app in the store, and I do this at Home Depot more than any place else because I'm sort of clueless when I'm at Home Depot, where it'll say it's this aisle, this bay, and all that, and so you can find whatever weird Home Depot thing in it. So I think definitely that's going to get better. That sort of Google Map inside the store idea. I mean, it's all about flattening people's headaches. It's all about
reducing the friction.
Yeah, it's all about how can I get you and the product together as fast as possible. And I'll tell you, now that Oklahoma City has a huge Amazon distribution center in it, I mean, there's Amazon packages at our house almost every day of the week now, just because it's so much easier. Like, I need batteries. Well, I'm not going to get out in this ice storm. I already know that I need batteries, that Amazon will bring me batteries tomorrow. We're getting stuff the next day on a ton of stuff, and some stuff we're getting the same day.
That's so cool. The drones aren't dropping them off, are they?
Not as far as I know. I haven't seen any
Not yet,
robots at the door, but it wouldn't surprise me.
So, Mike, thanks for your time today. Thanks for your generosity and sharing your expertise. If people want more information or want to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with you?
So Smirk New Media is at Smirk New Media everywhere on the internet. There's not another one of us, so that's good. All of my social is MKOKC on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and that. So my life is open book. I'm probably the easiest person to reach in the world. So.
Well, if you need help with social media, digital marketing, anything like that, be sure to reach out to Mike Koehler. Tell him that you heard about them through the Scott Townsend show. We should have like a special hashtag, like if you have hashtag TSTS, you get 10% off or something. But
exactly. No, I want to
thank you. Thought about that.
You've always been super supportive of me and all the stuff that I've done through the years, and it's people like you that have really helped us through all the bumps and roller coaster rides. So I appreciate all that you do. Yeah,
anytime. Just let us know. But it's been fun. Well, Mike, I think that's about it. For all of you watching, listening to the Scott Townsend Show, for Mike Koehler, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Dietzo Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.